Hello friends, I am Amarnath. Welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy. So in this session, we will discuss some of the questions asked in Public Administration Optional of UPSC Mains 2022. So in previous session, we have covered the questions asked in section A of paper 1. Now in this session, we will try to discuss the questions asked in section B of paper 1. So let me start the first question from section B, that is question number 5. The question is on development administration, right? So let me read the question once. Development administration embraces the array of new functions assumed by developing countries. Explain, right? So question revolves around development administration embracing array of new functions, right? So here, what are the new functions that are assumed by development administration? Alright, so development administration, particularly in developing countries, there are three elements in this question, right? One is there are three elements. One is question is on development administration. Second element is new functions. Third element is by developing countries. So that means our question revolves around, alright, mainly on this element. What are the new functions? What are the new functions that are assumed by development administration in developing countries, right? So whatever we write, our answer should revolve around this new kind of functions, alright? So the traditional functions and the contemporary functions of development administration, alright? So let us, the first point of the answer, it should be from, right, the first element of the answer. First we need to define what is development administration. So use one or two thinkers and define the word of development administration, alright, the first part. So in first 25 words we need to define this development administration by using any thinker. You can use George Gant or you can use Riggs, right? So you can use the definitions given by Edward Weidner. So it is up to us. So define this word development administration. Second paragraph of the answer should be about traditional functions of development administration. That is, normally now the doubt comes what to be written about this traditional function. That is, traditional functions means the functions assumed by the state, the functions performed by the government, particularly with respect to development in between 1952, we can take it as 1991. That is, we are using NPM or LPG as a timeline. The function, the concept of development before LPG, the concept of development after LPG. So we see a change in the definition of development, we change in the nature of functions of the government with respect to development after 1991. So we are using this 1991 as a timeline. So we need to define the functions before 1991 and after 1991. Simply the capacity building, nation building process, socio-economic change. So these are the traditional developmental functions performed by the what you call governments. But after 1991, along with what you call a socio-economic change, along with capacity building, so we see a new kind of functions, alright, a new kind of challenges posed by LPG on development, particularly with the withdrawal of state, with the what you call rollback of state, right, with the adoption of minimalistic approach, right? So we know what NPM has favored. So what is CG, catalytic government, entrepreneurial government. So how this new philosophy has brought a change in the work of the state. So we need to bring out the impact of this, then we should talk about the new kind of developmental functions. So now that is balancing both the welfare as well as regulatory activities, right? Balancing both the rights of the poor, underprivileged, along with the market reforms. So that is the new challenges or the new developmental functions of the government lies in balancing both the market philosophy as well as welfare philosophy. Alright, so that should be the answer of the question. Alright, and third point, so coming to flow of answer, so write traditional functions in almost all 30 to 40 words. Alright, and contemporary functions, alright, in almost all 60 to 80 words. Right, so contemporary functions, then what do you call bringing the conclusion. All right, so conclusion should be in 20 words. All right, so here the important part of the answer, that is this part should dominate the answer, that is contemporary functions performed by the development administration. All right, so take the help of LPG, take the help of NPA, and what you call write the answer. And you can also use the concepts of NPS, new public service. You can use critical approach. You can use new public administration to write a beautiful answer. So what are the contemporary functions of the state? What are the contemporary functions of development administration? Alright, so simply take the help of what you call NPA, the 5 goals as given by Frank Marini in NPA, or the 3 goals as given by Dwight Waldo or Felix in Negro. Use them and write the answer. Instead of writing a generalistic answer, you can use the help of new public administration, NPS, to write a beautiful answer. So they can be applied, they are readily applicable in development administration. So there lies our difference. Alright, so when compared to other answers, our answer should be on these points. That is, we can use this what you call NPA or new public service approach in writing this answer. Right, so this is about the question. Coming to the next question. So next question is on public policy. So this time I have seen more number of questions being asked on public policy. Question came on policy implementation, question came on policy evaluation. Alright, so 2 questions have come. 2 questions have come only on public policy. Alright, so rarely we see 2 questions being lifted from one single chapter, but this time this has happened. Right, so policy evaluation contributes fundamentally to the sound public governance. Right, so first of all, what is policy evaluation? So what is policy evaluation? What are different elements of policy evaluation? So talk about different elements of policy evaluation. Remember, the question revolves around significance of policy evaluation. Right, so we need not bring about the loopholes or drawbacks or the challenges. So we need to highlight the importance of policy evaluation. The crux of the answer is about what we call importance of policy evaluation in improving the public governance. So how policy evaluation improves public governance? So where the policy evaluation can really contribute. All right, so bring out the what you call elements of policy evaluation. So we have, simply you can use the impact evaluation as well as process evaluation. Right, talk about these 2 things, impact evaluation and process evaluation. Bring out the importance of impact evaluation, then talk about the importance of process evaluation. So importance of impact evaluation and importance of process evaluation. So this impact evaluation will help to improve implementation process, whereas process evaluation will help in policy design, in designing the rational public policies, in formulating the best policies. right, in improving the policy education. So policy formulation, policy education, as well as policy implementation. All right, so talk about the importance of, so this should be the crux of the answer. That means, all right, if you can write what is 20-25 words on what is policy evaluation, right, defining this impact evaluation, process evaluation, right, in around 30 to 40 words, right, then this should be around 60 to 80 words. This should be around 60 to 80 words, right? So if you can divide this answer, if you can divide this word limit, it will be very easy. Then conclude the answer. Conclude the answer by saying that policy evaluation is an important element in the policy cycle. There cannot be a right feedback, right? The entire feedback of public policy depends upon the way it is evaluated, right? So evaluation brings out a rational, it brings out, right, a rational feedback to the public policy making. All right, so conclude the answer by highlighting the importance of what you call policy evaluation, particularly importance with respect to policy feedback. All right, so this should be the answer about this question. All right, so moving to the next question. So next question is on Weber's bureaucratic construct. All right, so we can definitely say that without Weberian bureaucracy there is no public administration. The entire public administration revolves around Weberian bureaucracy. In each and every chapter, when we see the syllabus of public administration, in each and every chapter of public administration you see the element of Weberian bureaucracy. So any chapter or entire public administration, alright, it revolves around this bureaucracy. So bureaucracy always acts as a heuristic. So let us see the question based upon this. Weber's construct of bureaucracy has served a great heuristic purpose in furthering research in the field of comparative public administration. Do you agree with this statement? Give reasons. Alright, alright, so do you agree with the statement? Give reasons. That is, here in what way Weber's bureaucracy acts as a heuristic. Alright, so how it guides research in what you call field of comparative public administration. That means, so we are using Weberian bureaucracy, right, as a heuristic to compare public administration system in different countries. So we have different kinds of approaches, right? We have different approaches given by Ferrell-Heady, Henderson. All right, so 4 approaches given by Ferrell-Heady, all right, 3 approaches given by what you call Henderson. Out of all these approaches, the most possible, we have a traditional approach, bureaucratic approach, middle range approach. All right, so out of all these approaches, general systems approach, the most popular approaches used in comparative public administration are: one is general systems approach, and another one is bureaucratic approach. All right, so general system approach, that was used by Riggs in his comparative analysis, and the other one is Weberian bureaucracy. But again, when you see the general systems approach, alright, even in systems approach we tend to compare, alright, bureaucratic subsystem. Alright, so along with other subsystems, even bureaucratic subsystem is also being used. Even the functioning of bureaucratic subsystem is what you call taken into consideration. Right, so more focus is given on the working of bureaucratic subsystem. So if you take if you take Riggs model, Riggs has used, right, Sala, the word of Sala, right. Now what is Sala? Sala is nothing but a bureaucratic subsystem of a nation. So his focus was on the working of bureaucratic subsystem. That means even general systems approach, or simply systems approach, that was used in comparative public administration relied on comparing bureaucracy. So now we can orally say that, alright, Weber's theory or Weber's bureaucracy acted as a heuristic in all right, in comparing different administrative systems, or it acted as a heuristic, it acted as a basis for the research in CPA. All right, so let us talk about the flow of the answer. First of all, what is CPA? When this CPA has emerged, right, the background of emergence of CPA, that is formation of computer administrative group, the role of rigs, the objectives of the computer public administration, the open objectives, the hidden agenda, right, the support given by the American administration, the Ford Foundation support, right. So talk about all the basics, all background about CPA in around 25 words, right. So this should be your first part, right. Then talk about different approaches used in the research of what you call computer public administration. Simply use the approaches as given by Farrell Heading. Alright, then go to our main part of the answer, that is bureaucracy. The importance of bureaucracy in research on comparative public administration. Alright, so how bureaucracy, so I shortly use the word BU, how bureaucracy has been used by researchers for their analysis of different administrative systems or different what you call administrative systems. So simply use the systems approach, Riggs, and how Riggs has used this bureaucratic sala for his analysis. Right? So simply by what you call, by using this example of Riggs, we can say that bureaucracy has acted as what you call model. Even Anthony Downs, approach, the bureaucratic approach adopted by what you call Anthony Downs. Alright, so this is how we can say that bureaucracy is the basis for the research in comparative public administration. Then, so if you write this in 25 words, different approaches, not more than 25 to 30 words, and this should be around 60 to 80 words. Then conclusion, that means conclusion should be by highlighting the importance of bureaucratic approach in understanding different administrative systems. Right? So why we cannot avoid bureaucratic approach, right, in the comparative public administration. Right? So with this note end the answer. Right? So this should be the answer for this question. Coming to the next question, that is 5D. Standards are the foundations which do not replace regulations but complement them. Alright, so standards, alright, so those standards which are being brought out after having the experimental research, that is those what we call standards which are being designed, brought, tested after having an empirical research. Now, first of all, define what is standards. Alright, so what do you mean by standards? When they are regarded as standards, why they are regarded as standards? So here bring out the importance of empirical research. Empirical research, right? Logical reasoning, right, in designing these standards, right, and verification of results as well as replication of results. When the same result is replicated several times, right, over different periods of time, then we can call them as standards. So standards are those which are always verifiable, which are always replicated, right, over a period of time across the cultures, right, across the settings, right, so which have a cross-cultural applicability. So it can be any principles, rules, or anything. Alright, we call them as standards. Alright, so standards are the one which act as a benchmark scales. they are benchmark scales. So these cannot be replaced. Absolutely, these are the foundations which cannot be replaced. Alright, so they are the scale which is used to measure any kind of activity, measurement of anything. It can be the work, it can be the behavior of individual, it can be behavior of bureaucracy, it can be the working of the state, it can be any kind of what you call activity. So a scale that is used to measure, a universal scale that is used to measure, we call them as standards. So standards only help regulate, help in complementing the regulations. So what kind of regulations are to be made? So regulation means what? The kind of improvements, right? So understanding the deviation, measuring the deviations, as well as improving the deviations or overcoming the deviations, right? So standards are used for designing the regulations. That is the reason why, alright, we say that standards complement the regulations but not replacing them, right? So standards are the one which are used to design regulations. Alright, so these regulations are designed by measuring deviation. So understanding deviation, measuring deviation, right, then using these measures to design the regulations. That means overallly we are proving that standards they strengthen, they complement the regulations. Alright, so this is what been done. To take any kind of reform process, standards are being prepared. We call in terms of different types of things. We call them as standards are called as manuals, standards are called as code of conduct, right? Standards are in the form of rules, right? So these are the standards, right? A code of conduct, how what kind of behavior is expected, how a public servant should be, how a civil servant should be, how a structure of organization should be, what kind of functions are to be done by manager, a civil servant or an organization. So all these are standards which are in the form of manuals. The expected behavior, the expected outcomes, so these are clearly specified. So it is these manuals, it is these clearly specified code of conduct which is used to measure the individuals, the organization and their what we call deviation, and based upon this measurement corrections are made. That means standards are used in improving, standards are used in strengthening. That is the reason why they are called as complementary in nature. Alright, so this should be the answer for this question. Alright, coming to next question. The question is on budgeting. The question is on what we call outcome budgeting. Outcome budgeting addresses the weaknesses of performance budgeting. Elaborate. Alright, so now the one who has read the topic of budget in Nicholas Henry, then they can, I think they can answer this question very without any difficulty. Alright, so first of all the question is about two things, alright, comparing outcome budgeting with the performance budgeting. Alright, so how outcome budgeting addresses the weaknesses of performance budgeting. Alright, so first of all our answer should start from the importance, defining budgeting and bringing out the importance of budgeting. So there should be two types of two things. One is definition. So use the definition of Kautilya, Wildavsky, right, Hoover Commission, how they have defined what you call budget. Alright, so when you go through Lakshmikant, alright, you can easily answer these questions. And I'm to be frank to say, anyone who is good in Lakshmikant public administration, right, they can complete, they can with an ease, they can answer 50% of the questions without any difficulty. Right? So just use the definitions, one or two definitions, pick it from Lakshmikant if you can remember. But if you write these definitions, definitely it will bring the edge. Remember, I got 372. The reason is this is the only approach. Right? So first define this, what is budget. So along with definition, so do use one or two things and normal not more than that, because it is only for 10 marks, right? Then talk about the importance of budgeting. All right? Then what is performance budgeting? Just what is performance budget? How it got emerged, right? The role of Hoover Commission in India, the role of first ARC. So it was first introduced on the recommendations of Hoover Commissions in America. Then in India it was recommended by first ARC. Alright? So, and what is outcome budget? So outcome budget is a new form of budgeting that got emerged again in America after 1991. Outcome budget, target oriented budget, result oriented budget. So when we see these words, right, simply we can remember the new public management, which gave more importance to outcomes, results. Right? So now define this, what is performance budgeting, what is outcome budgeting, and in what way outcome budgeting is improvement over performance budgeting. So in performance budgeting, right, importance is given, right, to both. Importance is given to both inputs as well as outputs. Right? So here when we talk about outcome budget, it is more than inputs and outputs. Right? So with respect to accounting, right, with respect to managerial decision making. So how outcome budgeting is superior, or it is better than performance budgeting based in terms of managerial decision making, in terms of accounting, in terms of accountability. Alright? So apart from inputs and outputs. So measure this, right? So based upon these parameters, right, compare outcome budget with the performance budget and say that outcome budget is far better than performance budget. That is the reason why after 1991, every country, including India, have shifted from performance based budgeting to the outcome budgeting. Okay, so this should be the answer. All right.